What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. As most of my OGs already know, my name is Charles, owner of mXrevival and mXrevival.com, and if you're new, I am stoked to have your viewership today. Also stoked to let my new guys know that this bike build right here is a 2023 500cc beast that we're building named HELFYRE, and you guys can win it. Now whether you're new or you've been with me for a while, it doesn't really make a difference. Today, you and I, we're gonna keep on building this big bad bastard. Now truth be told, by this episode, I thought for sure I would have the engine back in here. Tony and I are this close to finishing that, so hang in there. I promise the engine will be worth the wait, so in the meantime, today we're gonna get into a bunch of other parts, pieces, and of course, prizes with your HELFYRE build. So we'll go ahead and kick today's video off with a little recap on some very special parts and pieces we've got dialed in for your HELFYRE build. One of those very awesome things we've completed would be your second batch of zinc-plated hardware. No more KTM gray. Came out absolutely amazing. This will cover your bike throughout. And speaking of gray, if you guys are connected with me on Instagram, you actually saw a sneak peek. Actually, not a sneak peek. You saw these clamps go together last week. We pressed the stem in, the bearings, all the new hardware. So definitely check out the mXrevival Instagram if you have not, link below. Lots of behind the scenes on these bike builds. But these clamps came out amazing. We started by using some of Cameron's Prime MX cleaning wheels. We took off all the casting flash. Next thing we did, we took them down to Dean at Fast Blast and Coat, got the concrete gray Cerakote sprayed on. So we went ahead and loaded these clamps up with some brand new dished head bright zinc bolts from Bolt Motorcycle Hardware. Guys, thank you so much for sending me all these special little kits that you can't get. You guys really level up the builds for everybody. And having said all that, these clamps absolutely pop now. They look so sick without the casting flash. The gray is amazing. The zinc popping out is just gorgeous. Next up, guys, we're going to talk about your vapor blasted swing arm, and we're actually going to work on the swing arm and linkage together today, but I put it through my very favorite 4-stage vapor blasting process. I'll leave another link for you below on how to do that. And it came out amazing. It looks like liquid metal. And as I just mentioned, today we're going to go ahead and take your vapor blasted swing arm, all of your freshly dry slick coated hardware and pivot points, as well as your linkage and bearings, and get all those installed on the bike with some other really cool details, of course, which may also be in today's giveaway. And guys, if all of that isn't enough for you already, I have a super special reveal today. I got your brand new wheel set in from Dubya USA, and you know I do not crack boxes open without you whenever I can help it. So today, we're gonna go ahead and rip that thing open and see our wheels for the first time. I have not seen them myself. I am super stoked. So that leads me to the last two things that are going to make this video epic. One, once we're done pressing all the linkage bearings into your linkage, mounting it to the frame with your new dry slick hardware, and your swing arm, that's gonna give us something to hang our new rear wheel off of. Cannot wait to do that. We're gonna get a really good and a brand new taste and perspective on this build, a little twist with the colors in the hub. Hopefully they came out badass. Like I said, I haven't seen them, but I think we're gonna be okay. Thing number two to sweeten the deal today, guys, we of course have a brand new mXrevival MX parts giveaway. You guys already know that whenever you see a new HELFYRE video that we also have a brand new giveaway on deck for you. So if you've already hit mxrevival.com and you've donated, you've got yourself entered to win our MC500 build, aka HELFYRE, you are automatically in the running for all these MX parts giveaways. Same with each new video, and of course, if you win something, some of these MX parts, you are not kicked out, you are still in the running for the bike, you just can't lose. And to everyone who's entered, guys, thank you so much. You are by far and away the most important part of these bike builds. I know for a fact that without you guys, my build team and I would not be able to build these the same. So again, thank you so much for your support. So having said all that, guys, let's go ahead and start today's video off with your linkage knuckle. We need to get all your bearings pressed back into that thing on the bearing press so we can go ahead and install it on your frame. Once that's done, we're going to be able to lube up some of your new dry slick hardware, mount the swing arm, connect it to the linkage, and then unbox those badass new wheels from Dubya USA. Oh yeah, in today's giveaway, not only am I giving away something that I have not even mentioned yet, but I've also got a comment giveaway for you guys too. So we got some comment giveaways for something very special, as well as, of course, MX parts for everyone who's entered. Let's get to work. All right, guys, here we are in the press. We have our linkage, which looks amazing, by the way. What's really cool about these knuckles when you vapor blast them is not only does it look really great, but because they're CNC cut, there's no need to remove any casting flash. They just look really, really cool, all machined from the factory. The vapor just goes, in my opinion, that much further on pieces like this. Looks ridiculous. So we've got our linkage knuckle, we've got some grease, we've got some blue shop rags, we've got some brake cleaner because we're going to be making a huge mess. Of course, I'm wearing gloves as well, so these may rip, may need some spares. Other than that, I've got all of our bearings. We've got 5 bearings in this particular. We're going to do a couple together so you can see the full process. Then I'll probably carry on and finish up. I've also got a couple of sockets. You use the sockets to press in the bearings, as you can see. Circumference is the same. You want to use a socket that's a little bit smaller if you can, so that if you do go too far, as you're pressing this into your linkage knuckle or linkage arm, it doesn't wedge itself into your part and get stuck. That would be really bad. So right now, as an example, you can see there's a little drag. Oh, penetration. But it won't get stuck, so it's not going to get wedged into the part and damage the part. After those bearings go in, some linkages have these, some do not. There's some thrust washers, like the Honda, for example. Maybe the Yamaha and the swing arm, they will have a flat, then they'll have one with rollers in it, like an actual roller bearing, then they'll have another flat, and then they will have the seal on the end. In the case of this KTM, I keep calling it the KTM, it's a Gas Gas. You guys get it, KTM Husky, Gas Gas. They just use these guys here. Even stranger still, on the swing arm, they use only two of these, and they're only on the drive side of the swing arm. So probably for spacing, to get a certain spacing thereafter. Anyways, let's go ahead and get this job dialed in. I am going to be cleaning my hands often, even though the grease is unavoidable. I try not to get a ton of it on the part. It will, of course, wipe off, but when you got a nice vape job, just try and keep it clean. Just trying to keep things clean in general. So we've got our press here. One of these is a little bit more narrow than the other. No, they're the same. So sometimes, like for example, this guy here floats. We need to put something that is the same circumference, as you can see. That is the same circumference with this outer edge underneath it when we press, because obviously if we tried to press it without, it would just go sideways, it would damage the part. So when we get to where the shock connects to the linkage, we'll be using that little spacer right there. Sometimes that's also the case with these two. One will be not as wide, or one will be more shallow. You would use this in the same instance, but this time, these are exactly the same. So that's kind of cool. Saves us a little bit of time. I can lay that flat. I can use the press without worrying about going sideways or wobbling the part and damaging it. That's really nice. First thing you got to do, get a little bit of grease and get it in those bores. Now you shouldn't need heat, although you can use it if you want. It's just in this instance, these aren't really so tight that you need to heat the part, and you're also touching it with your hands a lot. So heating it up is kind of just going to get you burned for the most part. Now, if you're taking something apart and it doesn't look nice and shiny like this, then heat is your friend, because a lot of times those bearings might just be stuck or seized in there. But always try it without heat first. Like I said, these aren't so stinking tight that you really need the heat in the first place. They should pretty much just slide right in without me even needing to use the bar on the ball jack that actuates the press itself. I can just use my hand and crank it up top, just like I do in the shower. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and put a bearing right here. I should also mention that there's a round side, there's more of a flat side, so we want the flat side up so that it makes contact with the socket. Less chance of rolling off of that. Go ahead and tap it to start. Get this press lowered down, and want to make sure that the socket is just right on that bearing when you're doing this, so that you don't damage the part. And once again, looks pretty good. And it's pushing the bearing right in. Like I said, I'm just using my hand above. You can see I'm not even centered on here. Tolerance isn't that tight that it's a super struggle. Go ahead and use the bar just to make life a little bit easier. And keep an eye on that bearing, because we want to stop as soon as it is about flush inside this recessed area here. Now I went a little too far. You can see that there's a shoulder here, this outer one where the thrust washer is going to sit, and there's another little shoulder where I pressed it too far. So guess what? That's another reason why this is important. Throw it back in there. Press it back the other way. Now that we're pressing against the round side of the bearing, it's not such a big deal because it's captive inside that linkage knuckle, so we can't really roll off the side of it. Another good thing I could have done, I could have actually probably used this guy here. It's just random stuff I have. This is going to stop when it hits that shoulder. So rather than using a socket that is exactly the same circumference as the bearing. I could have used this and it just would have stopped and it would have perfectly flush bottomed out that bearing inside of the linkage knuckle here. So we'll go back just a little bit and then I'll show you that with the wider part in a second. Probably went too far again on purpose, of course, this time, the other direction. Yes, just a little bit too far back out. So we'll go ahead and use the proper tool. This is really the one that's the same size as when you are pushing stuff through a swing arm. So apologies for that. It still works, but there are instances where it's not as crucial as you just saw. So now we got this guy in there. It's wide enough to bottom out on the part, which, like I said, will make the bearing perfectly flush when I'm done, when this press stops going down. Here we go, we got contact, and you'll know the press will stop. There, it stopped right there. Started to get a little bound, a little tight. So that should be perfect. I stopped this from going back up super fast because I don't want to spend all that time cranking it back down. So don't relieve the jack all the way. There you go. Perfectly flat, perfectly flush. Rinse and repeat. Get yourself another bearing. Put it on the other side. Kind of just rest it in there. Get our little press piece right there instead of the socket. Do it again. Got contact again. Now I want to be really careful. Right now I have a little bit of overlap in the back. This piece is overlapping the knuckle just a little bit. If it's close enough, as you press down, it'll sort of skip itself into the bore, but we don't want that to happen because it will leave a mark, and that's a part you can actually see when the bike's going to be done. Plus, you just don't want to damage it in the first place, of course. So just make sure you're in the center of that bore. That is one danger of using something larger than the socket, is you can destroy an edge on accident. So we're in, a couple cranks, and that's it, stopped. Slight relief. Looks good, both sides, flush. I like it. We'll go ahead and finish up this one together, then I'm gonna go ahead and jump ahead because I think you guys get the point. But now, I'm gonna take a little bit more grease. You can do the bearings later if you want, but we're here. It's easier to get greasy one less time rather than do it again later. So we'll go ahead and grease all the pins inside these bearings. And I like to grease the bores a little bit. Then I like to take these thrust washers and give them a good lubing as well. You can go heavy if you want. It never hurts to have more waterproof grease. In a pivot point like this that gets a lot of water from pressure washing and riding in it. So one of the thrust washers goes in there. Try not to get this thing too greasy. Flip it over. Get another one of those washers installed on the other side. Throw one on the ground for good measure. Of course, I won't be able to see it on these floors either. Got that in there, and now we have our seals, kind of the finishing touch on here. A little bit more grease on the edge of that seal. Go ahead and prep the other one while your hand's still greasy. Set it aside, get yourself cleaned up, and we'll go ahead and put those seals in. All right, so for our seals, we're gonna go ahead and take one of these little bad boys, which is already greased. They like to start sideways. They can be a pain in the butt. Some of them will fall right in and come right out easy, but some of them are a little tight. So I went ahead and got another socket. This one is the exact circumference as the seal itself. You don't want it any smaller because the center of it is rubber and it would just flex and fall right through and maybe damage the spring that's inside. So to get this started, it's a little crooked. Just, oh, little love tap. You can kind of get them to start to bite. Just be gentle. Not really a big deal. It will straighten itself out. You can see this one's hopping and skipping and jumping all over the place. I don't know why they use these. I like the Japanese ones better. They're just rubber. So I'm not perfectly straight yet again, but once this kisses the socket, we'll keep a good guide on it with our fingers. It's going to straighten out. Oh, it slid off a little tiny bit. Relief. Try again. If you need to offset your socket to where it's hanging over the edge just a little bit because you need to get it started, or it already started on one side, go ahead and press like that, and that gets the seal started. Now we can recenter it yet again with the seal sort of pushed down in there about 1/16 of an inch already, which puts us at dead flat now. And there she goes. Now these suckers are real flimsy, so just press until it lightly kisses. I'm just using my hand up here. I'm not using the bar, so I can get a good feel on how much pressure is being exerted on this part. These things will just fold up. They are junk in terms of structural integrity. But that's it. You got a seal in, you got your thrust washer, then there's going to be a sleeve through the center, and then a little cap, which I think they call a bucket on the parts microfiche, if I'm not mistaken. Flip your part over, set that seal in there, press it again. There it goes. See ya. Man, you know, I thought I was going to move on, but then I would be cheating you guys. I should probably at least show you how to use this guy when you are trying to press something into this smaller part of the linkage knuckle. You can also, in addition to using one of these little spacers, which I have, which is convenient, so I will use it, is you can sort of manipulate your plates or whatever it is you're pressing into, sometimes like that. Get the part to hang off the edge. Just want to make sure that you aren't contacting anything, because of course it will destroy this nice edge you have. And it looks like this would actually work. I can get this part slid in far enough to reach the press point and not contact these plates. So that would work as well. In fact, that might be easier because now I'm not trying to juggle and hold and do all these things, but we'll go ahead and use this anyways. Go ahead and grease that bore a little bit. You can even grease the bearing if you want. Sharp side up towards the press. Now I may need to get another socket as well. Although, if this socket is wider, which it is, then it's going to go ahead and stop me flush in there. So we'll just use the socket we already have. And if you guys have any cool press tips while you're watching, go ahead and drop me a comment. I'm sure there's some cool tricks I could stand to learn. I always love it when you guys bring something to light that I hadn't considered, or you know, maybe I just been doing this so long a certain way that, you know, I just don't really try anything new. So always awesome to get you guys feedback. As you can see, that's going in quite easy. Got the spacer underneath, a couple more cranks. Use the bar, it's getting a little more difficult. And there, it stopped. So we want to double check that that actually is center of the linkage knuckle for that bearing, which it is. It's dead flat on both sides. There could be a chance or a possibility where this is a little bit wider than the bearing that is spec'd, and we could be a little left or a little right, in which case you would get the socket that is the same circumference and just push it in or out as far as you need to. In fact, the lower shock bearing on the YZ250 is like that. It's a certain width of the shock, bearing's a little smaller, so it can be off center if you're not paying attention. And the reason you need it in the center is because if it's not, the seal that goes on either side will not fit if the bearing isn't right in the middle. It would push the seal out. Anyways, little tech tip. Now this shock bearing side is no different. It also has the two seals and the two little thrust washers. So I'm gonna go ahead and grease these up. You guys do get the point on that now. And I will meet you guys on the bench. We're gonna check out your dry slick hardware. Stuff came out so sick. All right guys, here we are up on the bench with your almost completed linkage knuckle. Pretty greasy, we'll have to clean that off. We also have your linkage, that's already done. It was done in much the same way. I'll take that back. Exactly the same way as your knuckle. There is one more thing left to do, and that is install the sleeves and the buckets that go on the end. These are the parts that are making physical contact with your swing arm and your linkage arm. So two of these are the same length. Check this one out. That's what happens when keeping it real goes wrong. I tried to press this through, thought maybe I could send the bucket with the collar in the center or the sleeve and push the whole bearing out. Had never tried that before. These things, extremely fragile. Don't do what I just did or did a few months ago or whatever it was. You have the thrust washer wrapped over what's left of the broken bucket. So it didn't work. So there you have it. Also, need to get one of these buckets. I got the thrust washer. Bucket didn't arrive. I'm not going to say who I ordered it from. But other than that, we will still be able to mock this up. So go ahead and put your sleeves in. This one, as you can see, isn't going to work out too well. And we have a smaller one for the single bearing over here. And these buckets are going to fit tightly into the seal. So when you're done, as you can see, that just slid out. Kind of a nice setup right there, nice and clean. One bucket on one side, one bucket on the other side. Same thing on your swing arm. Each pivot point, each side, same exact thing. One bucket, two bucket, and then I'm gonna go ahead eventually and chop that off there so we can continue to use the hardened sleeve. We'll get a new bucket and we'll be on our way. But for today, good enough to do some mock-up. Last thing to do to that knuckle, and we'll have to do it again later, it's just the nature of the beast, is hit it with some brake clean. Man, look at all these shiny bits over here. Those all belong to you guys. Clean your hands, clean your part, wipes right off. It does not hurt the vapor blasting. Sometimes you'll get a little haze of a residue, but you can usually get it back off. It doesn't stain or anything like that. All right, so for now we've got your linkage. How does this go? Something like that. Shock goes through the center of the link. Anyways, we've got that dialed in. Looks amazing. Guys, it's so freaking bright. I love it. Came out so good. Got the casting flash removed off of the link arm as well. Now it's time to talk about your insane, really super trick, really super cool dry slick hardware from my boy Dean at Fast Blast and Coat. If you didn't see that episode, basically this is a Cerakote product called Dry Slick, and it's kind of got the same coating as like the Vertex piston on the skirts, the sides of the piston. So we also have the zinc plated hardware on the end. These were all the KTM gray bits. Not really anything wrong with them, but also not very attractive. So we went ahead and did this number to them over here. So we have this really cool dry slick hardware in all your linkage pivots as well as your swing arm pivot and your rear axle, which of course the rear nut is not steel, so I couldn't zinc it. So cleaned it up with a Prime MX wheel. It's kind of beat up on the end and then vapor blasted it. So all this stuff looks really cool. We also Cerakoted in the concrete color your axle adjuster blocks. We're gonna go ahead and use this stuff to install or mock up the linkage and then of course the swing arm, which we're gonna jump into in just a second. And we will have a pretty good looking rear end for which to mount that revealed Dubya rear wheel. So can't wait for that. Let's go ahead and check out the swing arm real quick. All right guys, I got your swing arm here. I'm not sure if you're ready to see it. Are you ready? Are you sure? It's pretty badass. Guys, look at this thing. 4-stage vapor blast. Came out unbelievable. It was already in great shape to start with in terms of dents and dings and damage and stuff like that. So putting it through the 4-step, man, it's like liquid metal. Like I said earlier, just insane. Such a great shine. Couple other details. Got your brand new chain guide on the back. It's a factory KTM piece. Same thing with the slider. Bearings are of course installed up front, just like we did with the linkage knuckle. Came out insane. Couple other little things. Dean at Fast Blast went ahead and took care of these for me. This is Cerakote Blackout, and then of course we have some zinc plated nuts. These are from Bolt Motorcycle Hardware out of a Pro Pack. Check those out if you need one. Pretty much everything you can imagine in there for your bike. Whoa, look at that. Man. So anyways, we have some really cool touches on this swing arm. Aside from the vapor, like the Cerakoted adjusters in the back, these ended up being plated in, I don't even know what, maybe you guys know, zinc, excuse me, nickel, stainless, something. It wouldn't come off and I could not zinc plate them. So Dean worked his magic. Kind of something different. That came out pretty cool. Let me know if you guys like that. Of course, we're going to have the Cerakote concrete axle block right here in the end with the dry slick gray hardware in the rear as well, or the axle. Now, I have some other stuff to show you on this swing arm that I haven't mentioned yet. It's actually going to be today's giveaway. So once we get this mounted on the bike, I will show you some more. But in the meantime, guys, I hope you like it. Spent hours and hours on this thing. All right, guys, time to play a game called All Up in Your Booty. We're going to go ahead and get this link arm, which looks incredible, by the way, installed. We also have your dry slick hardware. This might be better lighting for you, not sure. But you can see the gray on this. Looks really good. It actually goes with the bike, even though it's not Cerakote concrete. So we are going to be mindful of details like this. You can see these bolts These linkage pins. This one doesn't go here, but there's like an interlock. That's how it's going to lock into the frame over here. So we want to make sure that when this one locks into the frame on this side, that the bolt in the rear of this linkage also faces the same way in terms of how it locks in. Anyways, minor detail. We'll go ahead and set the link aside, preferably somewhere where it can fall and get damaged, because that's how I do it for some reason. And we're going to go ahead and grease this up. Now, technically, Dean at Fast Blast says this is a coating, dry slick, that actually has an actual function to it, like it's lubricated somehow to some degree, some type of technology that actually makes parts slick. So he says you don't even have to grease it. Of course you'd want to. He says still, I don't know, I can't break that habit myself. So we'll give this some lube. I'm trying to keep the grease off the threads, just it'll be a little harder to clean because it has a really cool matte finish to it. It's probably going to get greasy when it goes through the linkage anyways, but we'll give it our best shot. So we've got our linkage that didn't fall off the top of the bike. Very good. Snug that into the frame like so. It's a little bit tight from the powder coat. We'll go ahead and set this aside. Give her a two-hand wiggle. I just wasn't quite lined up properly. So we've got the linkage in, got our dry slick hardware. Get that lined up a little better as well. Want to make sure I don't take the coating off these threads as well. I don't want to be too forceful on this part. So we'll take a little extra time to get it lined up properly. There we go. Wow, it really is slick. And we're in. The contrast we have going on here, guys, it is so awesome. We got so much shine. The red, dark gray, oh, very cohesive across the board. And of course, we got a little zinc nut right on the end there. Oh, and check this thing out. This came out killer. This was another little Instagram only. We've got your vapor blasted brake pedal. Came out amazing. Did a little Instagram reel where we push these bearings out. There's actually a double bearing in the brake pedal, despite the fact that there isn't even a double bearing in a KTM rear hub on the drive side for some reason, but they put two in your brake pedal, whatever that's all about. Came out awesome. Some more blackout, and then Bolt Motorcycle Hardware products, their M5s, actually dropped right in there in place of sort of the really ugly looking Torques that have kind of a yellow color to them. So we're looking a little more factory here, I think. Oh, a little more Cerakote. Need to replace this nut. It's the wrong size. Doing a little testing. Don't want to put the wrong nut in the wrong spot. You know how it goes. So now if we'd like, we could actually go ahead and install our knuckle and just sort of let it hang. But I'm going to go ahead and put the swing arm in first because this is probably going to be in the way, on top of the fact that some knucklehead went ahead and put the body panels and subframe up there for mock-up too. So that's also in the way. We'll go ahead and do the swing arm next, and we will hang the knuckle afterwards. All right, guys, here we go. We have our beautifully vaped up swing arm. We have our dry slick hardware already pre-lubed swing arm main pin. Let's go ahead and install this bad boy. Interestingly enough, the little detent I showed you, or the direction we put in the linkage bolt where it locks into the frame, is opposite up here. This stuff actually does feel way more slick when you're greasing it than the standard bolt when you're greasing it. So there's something going on with that dry slick for sure. Man, coming together, boys and girls. Can't forget our freshly zinced nut. This one came out incredible. Here we are in the undercarriage. We got our knuckle, some more dry slick gray. Stuff looks so cool. Lube up our hardware a little bit of waterproof grease. We'll get a piece of hardware started in one end of the link arm. Mount this thing in. I've got the linkage upside down right now. This is the one that needs the bucket installed. There we go. And if you guys need to, you can just use your shoulder, raise this up, flip this over, get this centered, and do the old reach around. Can't see a gosh darn thing right now. Yet somehow, always manage to get it in the hole. There she is. We'll go ahead and rotate this sucker. Next up, zinc nuts. Uno, dos. This looks insane. This dry slick gray hardware against the vapor and these zinc nuts. Oh my God, looks so good. I've never seen anything quite like that, to be honest. Guys, this is looking so mean. Everything is so bright, so pristine. No stone unturned on this build. You know how it is. I really love the way this is looking, and I'm also very, very stoked right now to introduce you guys to something that actually hasn't even existed until now. So this is not only today's MX parts giveaway, not this particular piece, but this thing I'm about to show you is today's new MX parts giveaway. This is the old brake line guide. Lays on here. I don't even want to touch this thing. It's dirty and crusty, and there you have it. So whatever, right? My boy Josh at 3DP Moto has come up with a brake line guide for the KTM. Now you guys have seen me use 3DP in the past on other builds. I've given 3DP away on other builds, but this is really cool because this is for the KTM guys. Something that's all new. Hopefully you guys can see that. We've got the brand new KTM rear brake line guide. You can totally customize it. This one says HELFYRE in it. I'll get a closer shot here in a minute. That sucker's gonna sit right on there. So not only is it a little more compact, but it's also able to be personalized. It's also about half the size of this cantankerous old bastard. And it looks amazing. So cool, Josh. Thank you for making us parts that didn't exist. That goes really well for you guys if you want some KTM upgrade parts. Not only that, but Josh came out with a couple different versions. This one's a little too soft, in my opinion. No offense, Josh. You said the same thing in our text, but a little too round. It's not bad looking. I like the black. He did a little bit of red. The color doesn't really match, and even if it did, I don't think I could stomach a big old red block on the back of this thing. However, some of you guys are into that, and I still appreciate you doing this nonetheless, Josh. But this actually isn't all. I have some more stuff to show you from 3DP, and that would be these caps here. Now, these are a lot like the YZ250, the swing arm where they have a linkage plug, but these are for the KTM. There are 4 of these in the KTM swing arms. You can see this hole here. There's one on this side, one on this side, and 2 more up in the front of the spars up there. Josh has come out with some brand new plugs for the KTM. They are super flexible, just like the brake line. You actually really can't see these on the bike. It's kind of a bummer because they're sick. And these are the old ones. They're just really frail and flimsy. And maybe this isn't a part you would consider customizing anyways, but now you can, which is really cool. And Josh went out of his way to make sure to make these for you KTM boys. The main reason why you might want these, let's say you powder coat your swing arm black, guys, now you have black plugs. When you look down at your swing arm, you're not gonna see, I don't know, these ugly things hanging out of it. So thanks to Josh at 3DP, we now have some custom parts for yet another year, make, and model, KTM Husky Gas Gas, in addition to all the Japanese stuff he already has on his website. I'll leave a link for you guys below. But this week, I'm gonna give away 2 complete sets of brake line guides, front and rear, to you guys. So if you have a Jap bike, it's gonna be the upper guide, the lower guide, and then up front, you're gonna get a guide right near your front number plate. And I'll go ahead and throw in a shot of some of our previous projects so you know what I'm talking about. But this is super cool. Josh, you nailed it, buddy. And thank you for making our MX builds extra special together and for hooking everybody up. This thing's badass. Well, of course we're going to install it together. Gotta get a closer look after all. Came out killer. Good job, Josh. Now, one other thing that you guys won't even see, these are the M5 hardware that hold that down normally. And it's a shame you're not gonna be able to see them because this is what's being upgraded throughout the entire bike. These are Bolt motorcycle hardware dished head fasteners, also M5s. So when we're doing swing arm stuff, definitely want to put a little bit of thread locker on there as well. In this case, a little bit of stuck nuts. The rest of this bike is also using Bolt Motorcycle Hardware's dished head fasteners, both M5 and 6, actually M8 as well, everything in the triple clamps. So if I haven't zinc plated it to get rid of the gray, then it has been replaced by something that Dave and the boys at Bolt make. There's another M5 in there. This thing lines up perfectly. The holes are dead on. I didn't have to drill this thing out in the bottom. So good job, Josh, if you didn't do a test fit already. Let's go ahead and drop some swing arm plugs in, of course. Today we're gonna use the gray. It just makes sense. I mean, at least I think it makes sense to use the gray. I'll go ahead and show you guys the black anyhow, just in case. Where is it? I'm looking at the damn camera. In case you guys like that better. It's gonna hang. Yeah, it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look bad at all. The tires are black, some bolts are black. It actually would go quite well, but I want these to be invisible, so let's see how they fit. Nice and flexible, as mentioned. There you go. Perfect. That almost looks the exact same freaking color. If that was shiny, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. Killed it, Josh. So I've got 3 more of these to install. I'm gonna go ahead and punch these in. There's a good look at the back also, and how flexible these suckers are. Anyway, I'm gonna get these installed, and then we're gonna go ahead and check out that brand new Dubya wheel set that I haven't shown you yet. Guys, I don't know about you, but after every single HELFYRE video, the magic and momentum starts to build. I start to get super pumped. I love these 3DP Moto plugs. These are awesome. Josh, you did a great job on these. And the brake line guide. I am also stoked to give these away to you guys this week. So if you have an Austrian bike, these won't be off limits. I'm sure Josh would swap these out for brake line guides. He might even do both, I'm not sure. And so if you guys have a Japanese bike and not an Austrian bike, Josh at 3DP Moto, of course, still has you covered with front and rear brake line guides. You can change the color. You can go ahead and personalize it with your race name, your number, whatever you'd like. Just make sure you guys are entered to win HELFYRE if you guys want a crack at any of these weekly MX parts giveaways. You're not gonna wanna miss out on anything else either, because we've already given away a couple $1,000s worth of prizes at least, and I still have some Electron carbs, some Slacker sag scales, some Phoenix handlebars, more decals, and much more, guys. So get entered, take a crack at these giveaways, and the bike, of course. 2 lucky winners for 3DP Moto brake line guides this week, so get after it. Now, as we get closer to the end of this video and more sweat starts to pour out of my body, it is hotter than hell in here today. We've got one more topic to tackle together. That is your new wheel set from Dubya USA. As mentioned, I haven't opened it myself, and I also bought you a few other things to complement that wheel set. Of course, we've got a set of brand new Dunlop tires, 120 rear, of course, for the 500 dirt destroying beast. I'm also gonna give you a small taste of your brake rotors upcoming from Dirt Tricks Murdered Out. We'll get into that a little bit more later. But for now, we got this big old box from Dubya USA, and it's time to open it. Let's see what they sent. Wheels are always iffy, man. Sometimes it just doesn't go as planned. You guys may remember on the YZ500, got a gorgeous wheel set. They just weren't quite the right color. Ended up having to get another wheel set, so we'll see how it goes. All that said, I know they'll be gorgeous regardless, but we want to make sure they jive with the bike, so let's do it. So since this is my first time working with Dubya and opening a Dubya wheel set, there's always some cool surprises when you start working with a new company. Guys, thank you so much also for being a huge part of the build team. This is a big deal. I really appreciate you. We got some stickers. We got a little card. Oh, that's cool. A little note from the owners, John and Kristen Anderson, Dubya USA. That's awesome. Very personal touch. Nice to see your faces. Now I know what you look like. Also, thank you, Ron Joint at Decal Works, for liaising this and connecting us. Cardboard, protect your wheel set. Very nice. Ooh, you guys aren't ready for these. Now, I tried something a little different on this wheel set. I was really stoked to see this as a color we could get for your bike build. And guys, wait until you see the hubs. First off, nice protection. They can't get scratched. We went with the Excel Takasago rim, a classic in gloss black. As you can see, got some red nips in there as well. Stainless spokes. You ready for the hub? Guys, this hub is called titanium, and I've never seen it before. That is perfect for this build. That is just the offset we need from some of the more matte gray colors. Killer. Titanium hub, stainless spoke, red nipple, black Excel Takasago rim. Sick. Now, this is one of many different offerings from the Dubya website. They import and build with several different brand hubs, Kite, Han. They also have a bunch of different wheel set types to suit your budget. So something entry level, something in the middle, then something really expensive, something with carbon fiber hubs, for example. And having said that, Dubya actually gave me some codes for you guys so you can save some money if you do go order a wheel set. So thank you very much, Dubya. I'm gonna spout that off in just a second. So there is our very cool front wheel. Let's go ahead and unbox the rear so we can get it on the bike. Oh, middle of the package, probably wheel spacers if I had to guess. Let's check it out. Yep, oh, we have some, comes with hardware for the rotors. Very cool. Never received these with a wheel set in the past. They have Loctite on them already. I wonder if they get these from Dave at Bolt. They look the same. I wouldn't be surprised. Sprocket hardware. Didn't expect that. I don't know if these actually come in every wheel set or if this is something they did for this build. So let's not assume that for now. But anyways, yeah, there's the wheel spacers, front and rear. Oh, they even label which side, disc and sprocket. A lot of times they are the same, aka ambidextrous, but it's nice to know they're different so you don't have to put them on, then test your wheel, and the rotor doesn't go in the caliper and all that stuff, so that's a nice touch. All right, here she is. We've got our rear. It never hurts to unbox something twice that you think is sick, so this is awesome. I love this color, titanium. It's like a gray. Of course, it's anodized, so it's got some shine. Too cool. These look so good. Guys, it's time to mock this thing up, see how it looks on Hellfire. All right, guys, it is time. I'm gonna start by opening up this spacer package, and we'll do them one at a time so we can put the spacers on the right sides, of course, starting with sprocket. Something I noticed about these is that the seals are already installed in the hub. That's pretty cool. These will get a good greasing before this bike actually goes into service. Sprocket side, got that. Little disc action. Something else I noticed about this titanium color, guys, it ties into the exhaust pipe perfectly. I'll show you in a second. There are so many different hues of blue in the pipe, ranging from really light blue and gray to dark blue, and this just really pulls that piece of the bike back in, where normally it sort of stands out. It'll still stand out, but you get what I'm saying. So we're ready to slide this wheel on, except, you know what I figured? Might as well throw in one more piece. Something you guys haven't seen yet. We will throw in our rear caliper bracket, something from Dean at Fast Blast and Coat. Even marked the little Brembo up for you, even though it faces the swing arm and you can't even see it. That's just Dean for you. So Cerakote blackout, break it up a little bit. I don't think you guys have seen this piece at all. So we got that in there. We got our dry slick all lubed up and ready to go. Cerakote concrete axle block. Slide her in. Very careful, no scratchy. I wanted to put the caliper bracket in there so we could get the proper spacing without this thing flopping around back there like a rag doll. Let's see. Come on. There it is. Perfect fit. Perfect fit. Not really even a spare millimeter of gap in here anywhere. Axles going through the spacers pretty nicely. That's also something to be said about the tolerance of Cerakote, is that it is so stinking thin that it doesn't affect tolerance sensitive areas such as axles through spacers and hubs. No scratches, looks good. Man, this is your bike. That is so cool. I love that color. Having a little pinch me moment for you guys right now. Man, the more you look, the more you find, and the trend will continue. These wheels came out so awesome. Thank you so much, Dubya. As you guys can see, these are Han hubs. If I didn't mention that earlier, may as well give you one more little teaser. Where'd it go? Here it is. We got the rear brake caliper. Whew, man, black rotor in there. You guys ain't ready. Almost forgot we got the other axle block, and of course that super duper vapor blasted nut. Just details everywhere, details. There you go, guys. You see that hub color, that titanium hub color in the pipe? They match perfectly. Came out so stinking sick. Didn't even plan that, believe it or not. All right, guys, I think we are having a pretty productive day on your bike so far, and I'm still not done. We pressed in some linkage bearings together. We mocked up your swing arm. We had a wheel set reveal. We had a surprise 3DP Moto giveaway. What else? We had dry slick hardware and zinc plated nuts. Everything is looking so damn good. So the last two things on my hit list today are, one, I owe you guys some discount codes for Dubya USA. That way, if you guys are in the market for a new wheel set, you can check out their website and check out what they have to offer. These wheels in particular, these are what they call custom build. You can pick all the colors, hub, spoke, nipple, rim, switch it up, do whatever you want. So if you guys are in the market for a custom wheel set, use code mXrevival20 and that will get you 20% off any custom wheel set. This is also really cool because it's actually the first time I've ever had a product code with any company. So just realizing that right now. See, we're making history together, guys. Now, if you guys are looking for something a little more economical, you can also check out the Edge wheel sets at Dubya USA. Another great option, just a little bit more budget friendly. If you guys are interested in those, you can use mXrevival 10, save yourself a little more cash on a wheel set that's already more affordable. And when I say affordable, no, I don't mean like some other wheel sets where they're cheap and they weigh like 1,000 pounds. This is the worst area on a motorcycle, hands down, to add unsprung weight. That's why titanium axles are so popular. Super light wheel sets are so popular. You don't ever want to go with a heavy wheel if you can avoid it. So really cool. mXrevival's first ever discount codes with any company, guys. Check that out. Links to Dubya USA below. And I've got just one more item on my hit list today, guys. If you made it this far, I actually have another giveaway for you, and it's a comment giveaway. So thanks to Dubya, I got a bunch of these really badass Dubya hats. Of course, this one's mine. I'm keeping it. I've been sweating in it all day. You don't want it anyway. But I've got another one for you right here. Guys, I want you to tell me in the comments below, what was your favorite part of today's video? We did so much stuff today. Was it the vapor blasted parts, the zinc plated hardware, the dry slick, the wheels, the 3DP Moto parts, something else that we did in a previous episode, something that's yet to come? I'm gonna go ahead and pick my favorite comment next week, and I'm gonna ship you one of these kick-ass Dubya hats. This is easily right now my favorite hat in the whole hat drawer. So you better make your comment good or I'm keeping it. So once I wear this one out, I got me a spare. All right, guys, so that's it for today. Stay tuned for what will obviously be much more building. I'm probably gonna mount the rubber on these Dubya wheels on Instagram. So check out the mXrevival Instagram page. A lot of behind the scenes over there for this bike build, stuff I don't capture on YouTube. Of course, we're gonna have our engine back shortly, which also leads to carburation, which also leads to other things. These wheels, for example, I just showed you a little sneak peek of that murdered out set of brake rotors. Of course, if Dirt Tricks sent brake rotors, you know they also sent drive. Can't wait to show you that stuff either. More Dirt Tricks giveaways, Electron giveaways, you name it, guys. It's still coming. We got a custom seat cover for you. The list goes on. So guys, thank you so much for watching today. I appreciate each and every single one of you. As I said at the top of this video, you're the most important part of these builds. Also, extra special thanks to everybody on the mXrevival build team that makes this stuff happen the way they do for you guys. 3DP, Dubya, guys, thank you so much for your contributions. Now, if you guys still need to get entered to win Hellfire, remember this is going to be a counterbalanced 500cc electric start two-stroke monster from hell. You can go ahead and smash this little link right here. And if you want to catch up on any part of the series you may have missed, you can check out these videos right here. Until next time, guys, shred safe. I will see you soon. I'm so freaking hot right now.